All right, you got it, Siege? Accidentally cut.
All right, we're rolling.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, trophy hunters of all ages. This is the 14th episode of the Raw Cuts Gaming Podcast. Woo! I'm your host, CJ, aka the Solo Gamer, aka the Trophy Hunter. Tonight, I'm joined as always by Mr. Clothing Optional. He's definitely not a noob. Big D, aka the Naked Gamer.
Yeah,
And
not anymore. We live in
also
fucking
joined,
Minnesota.
as always, by the hot taking, Twitter beef making, gamer extraordinaire himself, Woodsy, aka the Mav,
What's up, homies?
Long rod sucker.
aka
Fucking loves it.
yeah, he does. So, we thank you, our listeners, for tuning in tonight for the rarest takes in the gaming podcast sphere. As always, we bring you our own unique takes on all things video games, all while recording and publishing our podcasts edit free. We apologize for missing some on the YouTube last week, but sometimes the uncut is a little far and we get cut.
I've made sure that was corrected today. We are in fact live. I'm checking YouTube right now.
Raw Cuts is uncircumcised
it sure
tonight,
is.
baby.
Yeah, it's, I'm using if anyone ever bothers to check out our YouTube page, our other playlist is all the shit that we fucked up. So you guys will know that I'm using OBS, and for whatever reason, my shortcuts decided to not actually activate the YouTube stream until I actually go into our Raw Cuts Gaming YouTube channel and hit go live. And then it'll all look fine. So I don't know what's happened.
I do know we have one YouTube viewer, Johnny B. Shout out to the homie Johnny B. He watches our. So,
Johnny B.
Shout out to the old Johnny B.
Well, it's better than having Ryan listening.
He watches live. Ryan watches live.
Yeah. Well, he jerks off to us.
I was going to say it, but then I pulled a punch.
Love you, Ryan.
He sure does.
What up, McNutty, indeed. Okay, so if you want to do the podcast, we don't blame you. You don't want to see our ugly mugs, so you can catch our podcast, which posts every Tuesday. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Anchor. I am refusing to put us on Stitcher because I don't believe Stitcher is actually a thing. But if you really insist and can change my mind, then maybe I'll track down Stitcher and put us on there. But if you do want to watch our ugly mugs, as we alluded to earlier, D so wonderfully gets us pushed up to the old YouTubes. You can check us out on the Raw Cuts Gaming YouTube channel. So this week, our weekly topics are what we've been playing, as always. We'll get into this week's news and gaming. New segment alert. We teased it last week, but we're going to be rolling out Raw Cuts Gaming Pulled Apart, where we'll cover a game more in depth than we have. And this week we'll be pulling apart Woodsy, a.k.a. the Mavs' recent playthrough of Nier. So, spoiler alert now. Be warned, we'll get in full into spoilers there. But you'll get to hear kind of what he went through on Nier and his thoughts on there in kind of an interview format. And then finally, we'll touch on his pile of shame, and we'll mix some trophies in throughout the show. So, that all being said, Big D, what you been playing this week, man?
Nothing.
Very good.
I was pretending to be my other persona, the reluctant handyman. So my folks are up this week after vacation last week, and we finished a gigantic playset outside for my children, and I had some basement remodeling that was going on that finally got buttoned up, and now we're in the furnishing stage and loading the fridge with beer. and
Yeah.
liquors. So,
how many tappers you gonna have down there, D?
I haven't done that yet, but it turns out my dad just helped my uncle convert a gigantic chest freezer into a keg freezer, which they call a keezer, and he can do 8 kegs.
Keezer.
So, 8 kegs, full kegs.
Oh, what the fucking shit!
Exactly. So I may look into one of those. I may look into one of those.
Okay.
Awesome, man. That's you're winning at the game of life, man. Again, last week was the fishing stories. This week it's the home remodels, swing set building.
You gotta get you a neon sign that says "Welcome to Big Double D's."
Oh, yes, that works too. But yeah, this week I may go back to playing video games like I like to do, but I'll have to find somewhere to sit.
Starting live after this show, we're gonna shout it out, stream it via the PSN communities.
Oh, maybe. Well, teaser. Spoiler alert. So
down.
Woodsy, what have you been winning? What have you been playing, man?
Not shit as well. I was back in the old Scotty country, hanging out with my Gramps before he fucks off to Florida for the next 6 months. And then it was my wife and I's 5-year wedding anniversary, so we celebrated it up in Door County, which is an awesome place, beautiful, especially this time of year with all the fall colors. A lot of great breweries, a lot of great food, a lot of great wine, all that shit. Maybe. It was on point.
Watch the YouTube.
Always the perch.
Oh yeah, I was eating perch.
Perch.
Yeah. I had a lot of perch. I was at this one restaurant in on the lake side of the peninsula, and the waitress and I were joking around. I'm like, man, every time I come back to Wisconsin, I got every other meal is perch, and she's all like, so you basically order, you come in here and you're like, you'll have the perch entree and the old fashioned. Or the brandy old fashioned. I'm like, that's exactly right. And I'm like, if you could put a perch as a stir steak, that'd be perfect. She's like, I got you. She didn't do it, but it would have been hilarious.
It would have been funny at first, and then you've been like, go make me another one. But it was funny.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you're winning at the game of life also, though. I like that.
It was an amazing weekend. I did want to touch on one GT Sport related topic. It is so I'm a big car fan, and obviously playing Gran Turismo, and you either play Gran Turismo and become a big car fan, or you are a big car fan and play Gran Turismo if you play video games, right? So I wanted to announce that the SSC Tautara, the name of the car, Tautara, and SSC formerly stood for, it's now just SSC, but it formerly stood for Shelby Supercars. After Carroll Shelby, obviously, has now set the new world record with a top speed for a production car, new world record of 331.15 miles an hour. Holy fuck. And because to actually set the record, you have to go down and then back in case like windage is like a thing. So you have to, it's your average. So their average best is 316 spot 11. So fucking A. This is a 5.9 liter twin turbo V8 that pumps out 1,750 horsepower on E85.
That's insane.
Wow.
So, yeah. But, it's been a long while since America had the top speed record for a production car. So, fucking A.
Yeah.
Shelby, back with a vengeance.
And how about you, Siege? What have you been playing?
Well, I, like you guys, also didn't play a whole lot this week. I had my folks in town,
too.
Good
thing
so
we have a gaming podcast.
Good thing.
I did do, I chipped away
Talk the talk.
Exactly. I did play a little Final Fantasy VII. I finished chapter 6, so I just got through a little bit there, and then I played a little more Fortnite, where I'm chipping away. I'm level 93 now, so my death march to 100 continues. I just unlocked Tony Stark. However, I'm just running around as generic Tony Stark, which looks lame as hell. So I need to unlock the Iron Man costume. So once I unlock the Iron Man costume, do the challenges, I think I will put Fortnite to bed for a little bit, because it is
burned out.
Yeah, man, it's been fun, man. And doing the challenges helps. You go on each day and go, today I gotta harvest wood, or I gotta use a sniper rifle, or I gotta do this, that, or the other. But I'm reaching my limit of Fortnite. I need to unlock that Iron Man skin and get my money's worth and get all the free V-Bucks and all that shit so I get my money back. So I do like the Battle Pass. I've never bought one before. It does keep me coming back and playing, and I think from what it seems like, you get all your money back anyway if you play the whole
Yes.
Battle Pass.
If you make it to 100,
So,
yep, you get all your bucks back. Yeah,
so
that's
if you
uh, Rocket League had that too, and Fortnite. So Ryan and I bought our shit like 2 years ago on both platforms, and I've
Yeah.
never put in another $10. So
it sounds like Avengers has the same system. For their characters or whatever. I like that, man. I like that it incentivizes you to go back it incentivizes me to go play it, and then the fact that you get your money back and then play it some more. Hopefully, they get people to come in and chip away at like the random drops they do and for V-Bucks and stuff. But I like that much better than just kind of what Rocket League is on to now and whatnot. But yeah, so Fortnite and Final Fantasy VII remake for me. So kind of
Nice.
boring
You
in the old what we're playing.
You just saw the meme I sent him about Fortnite. Because I saw
Let's
this
make it
today.
fun of Saw.
It's
Yeah.
like the Saw game. It's like the Saw guy. He goes to the dude. He's like, "Do you want to play a game?" The dude with the chain on his leg is like, "Is it Fortnite?" He's like, "No, it's not Fortnite. I want you to saw your foot off." Oh, well, thank God it's not Fortnite.
hate. So Fortnite and Final Fantasy. So let's get into the news because we got a lot to cover this week. So
Sure do.
last week we had PlayStation drop us some morsels of news, and this week they dropped a little more. Kind of one of the last pieces that everyone's been so anxious to get to, and I know
Show us the
Woodsy,
fucking
while he
thing.
has been playing many games, he is quite excited for this bit of news. Sony dropped their UI/UX in the PlayStation blog. A lot of hoopla there, but just I don't remember what day it was, if it was Wednesday or Thursday last week, some random day. Just woke up to a blog post that walked you through the UI and UX. So we'll get into it here in a little bit, but Woodsy, I know you're excited to talk about this. What are your initial takeaways on this?
Love it. Really, really do. I feel like it's a really amazing evolution of the UI that they already have for the PlayStation 4. There's a lot of stuff about the PlayStation 4. I mean, outside of the performance, it is slow. That's a common complaint about it, and blah. I get it. It's fine. It's a valid complaint.
It is, but a lot of it's hardware bound, so we knew
Well,
a lot
right,
of this
right,
shit
right.
was going to get lightning faster.
But everything looked very smooth. Granted, it wasn't running like 17 programs at once. We'll see what happens. But I love the fact that your PlayStation 4 UI menu, you have that down button that goes into here's the trophies for this game. Here's what people have been streaming about this game. Here's you want a helpful tip or party up or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They just integrated all that shit into the main hold down the PS button menu right inside the game, so you don't have to pop actually out to the cross media bar and then dick off around with all that shit. So that looks dope. They didn't quite mention like for Xbox, right? About the whole being able to pop in and pop out of up to 6 games with I forget whatever
I thought
hot
that was
swapping.
odd.
In the,
I'm
but
guessing
it
that's
seems
not
like
ready to go.
Yeah, that was my.
But it seems like that's basically happening anyways, from what they're showing off in the thing. So
Did they hop game?
I guess we'll see.
The one I was watching,
So-
they didn't load a second or third game.
So, D, what are you? We'll get into that here in a bit. So, D, what are your high level takeaways from the
Well, I'm on
blog
Woods'
post?
but again, I expect this is what I expected with the hardware specs going where they were. Right, I expected it to be way faster. That being said, I'm glad they didn't just sit back and just reskin the existing UI. They're like Woods said, they're actually going for something. Sounds like they listened to a lot of the complaints from PS4, and Woods hit on it too. You need to pop out of the game to get to this thing. You don't for this thing. This thing's over here now. It looks like they made it way easier to comprehend and navigate through. I love the picture-in-picture thing. I did have one question it didn't look like they covered, but being that we're getting more into streaming with our shit, I asked Woods, like if I have a tablet or something and I put that picture-in-picture thing on it, can I take that annoying as balls comment stream that shrinks my TV screen so that I can see that on the main TV? Can I just put
That'd be
that
sweet.
crap on the tablet and then I could answer shit on there live during the stream and then
Kind of like a second
interrupt
screen,
my
kind of
TV?
almost.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was the whole point of the second screen.
I feel like maybe that is a thing, but I don't know. I mean, like on Twitch, might have to do a little.
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, I think. I mean, time will tell. So my takeaways. I loved it also. They came out right away in the very start of the blog post and said, "Hey, this is built from the ground up. We listened to your guys' comments and feedback, and while it was built from the ground up and not just reskinned, it seemed like they took a lot of the cleanness, the sleekness of the current PlayStation 4 UI and just streamlined it like you guys mentioned already. So I'm happy with it. One of the pieces they introduced was the card system. So when you go into the down button, it has these little cards. Some of them, I'm hoping that you can customize them, or if you go into certain cards, it just moves them, the other ones that you don't want, to the back of the stack. Like the first one they pulled up was the news one, or the blog post about that game, which no one ever reads. No one cares about what the developer is saying about notes or anything. So that one hopefully can get pinned to the back where it belongs. But it also had like game progress in there. So if you went in there and said, hey, if you're looking to do a certain achievement or trophy or certain achievements within a level, it will tell you what percentage you are towards that
was cool.
achievement.
Right.
Another cool
and that's
feature
something that you specifically had addressed that you wanted, and it seems like it's coming. And I think from what the impression I got as far as those cards is, it looks like they are customizable because they showed how you could like pins various things and so on and so forth. But it seemed like it was dynamic too, from what he was talking about, just from a UI design perspective. Like it's contextually aware of what level you win and what part of the level you win, and are presenting your cards accordingly.
Wow.
So
that's pretty badass.
Fucking dope.
It wasn't necessarily confusing as it always is. It wasn't necessarily tied to trophies per se, but I'd imagine it's going to be. They said achievements in game, because each level has like Sackboy. They're like, hey, collect these 10 whatever, So I'm hoping it integrates with trophies. I'd imagine it would. But that was another cool feature. So that looked pretty cool.
It did seem like some of the features that looked really awesome need to have developer buy-in.
Yeah, for sure. Because
So,
they said not all games, so
right.
a third-party game, that has to make it on Xbox and potentially Switch and PlayStation may not take the time to integrate all that stuff, but
that makes sense. Because I'm assuming
I
some
like
of the stuff Woods is talking about, that's all got to be API driven and all that other stuff. Like I'm at this part of the level, so I'm tied to this achievement, and the PS4 or 5's got to be able to read that in.
There's no reason to think that they won't do that as a developer, because they all bought into trophies, right?
Yeah.
And those are also developer driven. You don't have to have trophies. So they're going to do it, and it's probably going to either make life hell for one guy or create a new job. Probably the former. Sorry, guy.
If they, just kind of like we were reading on the new standards for encoding, if they came up with some kind of standard for the API to read where you are in the level and what achievement that is, it's possible that they're making life easier between the platforms also on the developers.
Right.
So,
well, and it was dope that they made it also contextually aware from a social media standpoint, or from with the picture-in-picture thing. If like I'm viewing CJ playing Sekiro and I haven't gotten to a certain part he is, it sounds like there's going to be spoiler warnings across the board, so I don't ruin my own personal experience, which is really dope.
Yeah. So they one of the things they announced was the integration. We'll get into it later, but anytime a screenshot is sent to you or a video clip is sent to you, with the create button, if it's a spoilerific part that they deem spoilerific, or later in the game, like Woods mentioned, it will, before you even open the image, it will say, hey, spoiler warning, do you want to continue? And you can say yes or no, and then you can save that image for later. So that was kind of cool. Each player they tailor made like how long they think it'll take you to achieve something. So I'll say, hey,
Right.
this is going to take you about 20 more minutes to accomplish based on the way you play, and that will evolve over time. So if they notice you tend to play games slowly or quickly, um, it takes the average of everyone who takes to accomplish it and matches you up with someone else and
Right.
says, hey, you got about 15 minutes left to pop this achievement or beat this level or get to this boss. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
You guys both,
people were questioning about like how that was going to work, and to me, immediately it was just clear like it was going to take the data collection average, right? That
yeah,
Well, like
yeah.
the one other thing about the PIP thing I thought was super cool that they didn't clarify if it was like delayed game like a game literally you fly like I'm watching what you're playing, right? Is that stream slightly delayed? Is it not delayed? If it's not delayed, can developers choose to make sure it is or isn't? Because there are definite like gameplay strategy options that would reveal themselves in like multiplayer games. That is the biggest goddamn spider I've ever seen in my house. Holy
Yeah, so
Christ.
the pip thing. So we touched on it a few times here, but so what the pip thing is you can bring up one of your friends' gameplay, and if they choose to let you watch it, and bring it up either in a pip mode where it's in, and you can position that pip wherever you want it on the screen, or you can use split screen. So it's kind of cool. Like if you say, "Hey, I'm looking at this," and then you're like playing the same game, like, what the hell are you looking? It doesn't make any sense. You can pull up their stream and watch them, or you can even watch them play a different game. The game they showed was they were playing Sackboy, and they pulled someone up playing Uncharted Lost Legacy, which is a PS4 game. So it's obviously works with whatever, or hopefully whatever game you're playing. It's not just like a PS5 only feature.
That's true, but like, sorry, I cut myself off because of the spider.
Yeah, no, I vamped while you were killing the spider. No worries.
So, but yeah, like that'd be super sweet if like you're playing Fortnite, I can see exactly what you're seeing, and then from your point of view, and I can see what I'm seeing from my point of view.
Yeah.
Just
or where you're, like, where's he's wandering off
the
again.
camera. That's what I want to be able to do on my picture-in-picture. I want to see Woods' live. Yeah, I want to see that right there. Yeah.
Or put this passed out Woods as the background again. Yeah. So then another feature they rolled out was loading games. Now we touched on this a little bit. Now they did not show them loading multiple games at once. I feel like if that was a thing like Xbox, they would really hammered that home. However, they did jump between games, and they said that their boost of their hard drive makes it almost like you're just loading another game simultaneously anyway. So that kind of gets to your point of hopping between games, Woodsy. I was hoping to hear that they specifically said, hey, you can suspend 6 or 7 games at once, but they didn't say that, so.
So there's something cool that came out about the Xbox actually version of this too. Is like apparently you can like kill the power to that system, and when you reboot the system, you'll still be able to jump into any one of those 6 games exactly where you were, which blows my mind.
Have you seen the videos online at all about that?
Though.
A guy cold started his Xbox. It was a little like 18-second TikTok video or something. Cold started his Xbox and was playing within less than 18 seconds or whatever, So it was pretty surprising. But
yeah, I didn't know they did that. That actually wanders into my arena. So they're taking a lot of shit that's happening like in RAM or whatever and making sure that has some sort of battery backup or something on there. I see that a lot on enterprise grade storage, because as you can imagine, if a giant manufacturer has an array go down, they want that same thing to happen, right? But I'm shocked that that's going to be in the PS5. I didn't know that.
Well, maybe it's the hard drive too, because if it's just stored on the solid state or crazy ass speed drives.
It could be a lot of that cache and whatever. The reads writes are just getting stored in that NVMe. So
yeah,
but yeah, typically it's a RAM thing.
Another thing they rolled out with that loading is you can load directly into different modes of the game. So the example I gave was Fortnite. I've been playing that a bunch. Is you boot up Fortnite, it takes forever to load up, and then you pick Battle Royale because no one bought the actual game, and everyone always plays Battle Royale anyway. And then you load up again. You go through 4 loading screens just to get to your little, you know, party mode. With the PS5, you can just go hover over Fortnite, go down, go right into the Battle Royale, and skip skip loading to just take a while anyway.
Yeah, it looked awesome. It looked crazy awesome, and kind of like I said, of my high point, touch point was that it looks like a very smart and user friendly evolution of the PS4's user interface. So now in the last 2 weeks, PlayStation has given me basically everything I wanted them to give me.
All right.
From
solid like 3 weeks before release.
So yeah, all of
after you.
But apparently they're not done. They're gonna. They said at the end of this one they're gonna do another showcase or two.
They'll keep doing these randomly. They're gonna keep drip feeding you, to keep your mouth wet here. So
hopefully they have more pre-orders. I still need to get one.
No kidding. So Woods, you had a kind of a tinfoil hat. I don't know how tinfoil it is, but what did you notice about the avatar they chose?
The gentleman who was showing it off for the English-speaking crowd, his PlayStation profile avatar was one of it was the bad guy enemy type from Killzone, a lost and forgotten franchise of the PlayStation 4 generation. Perhaps Killzone come back.
Oh man!
I think that when they have a highly polished PlayStation drop like that, I think there's no way he just randomly picked the Killzone, avatar with
not on accident.
He would pick like Sackboy or something because they showed the Sackboy game or something generic.
Something that was coming out.
Right, but
they bring it back.
Yeah, man.
Which means which is interesting though, right? Because they are in charge of Horizon Zero Dawn 2 as a studio. So
I thought they did say that they're making multiple games in development.
I heard that as well. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Killzone to come back. I liked it. It's an underrated franchise. So was I forget they had another one. Resistance. Oh God, Resistance. So good. That needs to come back as well. Anyway.
And then, so finally some news that dropped today that I caught was some eagle-eyed people in watching the UI. They didn't touch on trophies a whole lot. I'm wondering if they'll do a whole little showcase on trophies or not. But it seems like unlocking trophies will get you more rewards. I think we might have touched on it just in our friend group in the past, but earning trophies could earn you some PS bucks or something. That they had that for a while and they got rid of that. Right now, for some games, if you platinum a game, you'll get a theme and some avatars. Usually it's just first-party games, but I have like my Bloodborne theme that I like to rock a lot, But it seems like some other trophies, like golds and even bronzes, might unlock some other things like avatars and banners and things. And I think it's just another little free thing that they can give away that costs them minimal to kind of encourage people to hunt trophies, play games more. And to just an evolution of trophies. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. I didn't even hear about that, but that's super sick.
So just to kind of tie a bow on this, was there anything that you guys were left wondering about at all, or wanted to know more about? Because they kind of kept it brief. They kind of kept it a very curated demonstration. But was there anything else you guys wanted to see on the UI or UX or anything, or no?
Just on the PIP to a second screen is really. That would be pretty dope for me. Like if you have the PS app on a tablet or something to be able to shoot that PIP over there instead. That would be pretty titties.
It would be nice to see the or gain some sort of clarification on like that jumping between games bit. And just see how the party messaging stuff is integrated now. I love the voice to chat feature. Thank God it'll dictate my speech now, rather than hunting pecking on that fucking stupid keyboard. Old PlayStation 4 UI, PlayStation 5 UI. So that and then just it'd be interesting to see the what enhancements or whatever they've done for streamers. So, because I'm sure there's some of that too.
Or show some goddamn backwards compatibility.
Yeah, goddamn right. And one final thing, right?
Yeah.
Everything. No. Yeah, baby.
You got most of it.
Yeah, so I think we kind of covered all those, and I kind of agree.
Someone tell me how to get a pre-order.
I'd like to see kind of how trophies are integrated and them going a little bit more on that, but time will tell with that. So, with all that being said, PlayStation rolled out their controversial update 8.0. So, PlayStation 8.0 launched last week, or this past week. One of the things it did was it removed communities. Sorry to all those out there in our Raw Cuts gaming community that are so distraught. What are you guys' thoughts on the removal of communities? Woodsy? Community manager.
Because I'm checking my community thing on my PlayStation 4 now, and the main icon is still there. So I thought it said if you had a community already, it would stay around.
Okay,
you couldn't create a new community, but you could no longer just do like do a chat from the community or a party from the community. But that also appears to it looks like no. I clicked the feature. They didn't remove the icon from the GUI, but once you click the icon, it says you cannot use this feature. Well, let's see.
Got them.
Invite players to join this community. I can still do that.
My guess would be with Twitch that no one was really using those, which is why.
I think so too.
Yeah, I can no longer create events for the community, which is
and again, I bet that's all on Twitch. So
yeah, but I can just post the community wall still. So if we're gonna do something, I guess nobody will hear it because now I'm firing it into a cannon of nothingness.
Check the Twitter or Twitch. Yeah. I think it's just cleaning up the community. I think like you mentioned, D. I think not many people were using it. And they're just trying to streamline. It sounds like the UI. So another piece they rolled out in 8.0 was the ability to record and submit party chat to PlayStation moderators. D, what are your thoughts on the recording of party chat?
I don't know. It seemed like people were getting real uppity about it, but there's someone here that likes to invite random people that he's pissed off in Rocket League into the party,
right.
And I don't know. It's kind of.
It was an accident.
Yeah, it makes you.
I
was
trying to troll them, and it backfired. It really backfired.
They trolled us for hours and hours. But it makes them think
twice about saying
dumb shit. Woods, I don't think was.
I couldn't figure it out because I was under the influence of multiple things.
Okay. So, any thoughts on that, Woodsy, at all, or no?
I think it's making a bit of a mountain out of a molehill. When it's like all these people are like, oh, okay. First off and foremost, your PlayStation has been recording your audio for a while because it's been able to dictate the party chat to you if you wanted to. The only thing that's changing is apparently your ability to report some portion of that audio chat. And it seems like you could have done that before with a video clip anyway. So it's a whole lot of nothing if you ask me. Plus, everybody's like, "Oh, PlayStation's listening in on me, dude. You got a fucking cell phone. You got Alexas. You got
everything's listening to you. Yeah.
Not the fuck.
I agree,
but I think it's more of a deterrent for people to hop in and say stupid shit.
Well, and I think too the interesting part is the key part of that is party chats, right? It's people you choose for the most part to chat with. Right. It's not like it's in-game chat where you get all these random, which is not very prevalent anymore anyway. Right. So for the most part, it's chatting with your friends.
Well, in community chat, look at Rocket League, right? If we can hear the people on the other side and we're not in an exclusive chat, you can report people for verbal abuse, and you can in Rocket League and in other games, you can actually say it was audio or it was text. So individual games are doing it.
Yeah.
So this is just
I agree.
So stupid.
It also combined parties and messages. It seems like it's giving people a difficult time creating a party. I haven't tried making a party yet, but
you didn't do
it
it?
sounds like it's no. But you guys had any problems with that at all? I mean, we
Oh,
haven't really played
I
over that,
haven't
but
fired it up,
there,
so I'm
there was
gonna go
something
find out
about
in about 20 minutes.
there's something about depending on which text thread you're on, which message thread you're on, you can invite people from the group thread. And we kind of have a group thread going with all of our people we game
Yep.
with anyway. But it sounds like you run into problems when you try to invite other people to the chat, just because
So
they
you
tried to
gotta-
integrate. You got to create a new thread almost with a new whole group of people or something.
Oh boy,
I
they
don't know if
didn't
that's been
think that one
patched.
through, huh?
No, that's what it sounds.
It looks like I can. So I clicked. I went into it and I saw like our main
Yeah.
group message thing, and then now I can add a player just fine.
Okay.
At least
Okay.
from
So,
the UI. Whether or not they actually got it, I don't know.
well, okay. Yeah, that was one of the complaints I heard. I mentioned I haven't tried it yet, but I heard it was causing some headaches on party. They try to make things a little more difficult. It gives the ability to mute all microphones. So that could be good for streamers if you're streaming and we have that party chat on, and then all of a sudden you get random people hopping in there, chirping, like some of our friends do. My little comment is hopefully we can just mute Woodsy's mic, but we love to hate on him.
He-
Yeah, and then the last piece they gave was the ability to remote play with PlayStation 5. So they kind of reworked remote play a little bit, and they had PlayStation 4 in there, but now they also add PS5, which lets you know you can do some more remote play with your PlayStation 5.
So let me ask you guys this, and this is not something we've discussed before. Usually, I like to keep an old console around for just having. A lot of times, it's because of a lack of backwards compatibility, especially for optical media. Well, there doesn't seem to be a reason for me to keep my PlayStation 4 on, so I upgraded my PlayStation 5 at all. So, do I trade it in?
Yeah, so that's a good thought. I've been thinking about that quite a bit lately, actually. So when I initially pre-ordered my PlayStation 5, and before the news of all the backwards compatibility came out, I thought, for sure, I was going to keep it. And then I thought, when you found out everything was backwards compatible, I'm like, well, no, I'm just going to trade it in and get some money for it, and you're not going to get much for a base.
I was just about to say, was
PS4.
GameStop going to give you $20 for that?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So
you could get for a base, you could definitely get like $100, $150
yeah,
for it.
I was thinking $100. And
After PS5 drops, though.
Yeah, you can still get it.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I was thinking, what, I could, keep my PlayStation 4 upstairs and have my PS5 downstairs, and then let the kids play on the PlayStation 4 if they want to start getting into gaming. I can be like, all right, here, you can play with this. So Hannah's my daughter's getting kind of an age right now where she's kind of showing some interesting games, and if she wants to play, I can have everyone on the PS4. And
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I'll do too.
I'll probably end up keeping it and having them, separated. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, man. It depends on how much you can get for it, but I'll probably end up keeping mine. So. Yeah. So the another piece of news that came out this week, a little bit of positive news. It came out. PlayStation said that PS Plus will be doling out the 4 free games again. They kind of got away. Well, they kind of
shit.
do these various things. They used to give out games, 2 PS4 games, 2 PS3 games, and 2 PS Vita games. Then they snatched away the PS3 and PS Vita games, and then they kind of would sprinkle.
Well, initially it was just PlayStation 3 games. Then they added PSP Vita. Then there was PlayStation 4. Then they cut those two.
And then they would throw in like a random game here, a third game here or there. Yeah. I was kind of hoping they'd throw in bigger games. It hasn't really. Or sometimes VR. You do get some little bit bigger games or a VR game, yeah. But from what it sounds like is they will be giving you PS4 and PS5 games. When do you guys think we can expect some of the PS5 games to come out for free? PS4 games, from what it sounds like I was reading, happened at launch. I think it was. I don't remember the name of the 2 games, but they were just kind of these smaller third-party games or whatever. But do you guys think they'll be?
Wow. If it's immediate, there are going to be a bunch of indie games. I would have to imagine, because you're not going to have the PS5 catalog, yeah,
or the PS5 version PS5 of a PS4 game.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It'll probably be those enhanced version ones that they'll give away.
Bug snacks.
Yeah, bug snacks, maybe. But like it'll be interesting to see before we still get like full blown games on their own. it probably won't be like a super worthwhile benefit for the first year, maybe year and a half, but it will eventually be definitely worth it. So
Yeah. So I mean, that was good news because we weren't quite sure what PlayStation Plus would evolve to. But the fact
and
that
I was very mad when that went away. That was something that
yeah, me too.
not a lot of people
I
talked about. So
yeah, I totally agree. So some annoying news of the week: 2K NBA 2K21 added unskippable ads in their loading screens via an update.
Oh no.
It also kind of played NBA 2K20. What are you guys' thoughts on the old unskippable ads being snuck into video games?
well, so
Better.
you're the only one of us bought 2K20, right?
Oh no, 2K20 was
It
it
was
was
a
free as
PS
a
Plus
PS
game.
Plus game, but I did play it.
Oh, you did
I
play it.
haven't played
Okay.
it. I haven't played it recently. I think it's just the business of video games. You know, like 2K20, 2K is generally one of the more money hungry companies with all their virtual currencies and whatnot. But if they're going to keep video game prices down, they're going to start making up money elsewhere. It's annoying, but
See, I don't know if it's about well, they're not keeping them down. They're up bumping them all up by $10.
yeah,
Um,
but
but then it's not about that. It's about just let's see how much money we can squeeze out of this bullshit.
And that's
Which
what's
is,
tiring me out on games. Is that's what
and
it's
then
starting to
how
feel
does
like.
how does that business mechanism or monetization mechanism work for next generation when there's instantaneous loading
I
screens?
was
yeah,
just
no
gonna say
kidding.
that shit better be temporary because if
It's
they
going
Right.
to force.
get rid of loading times and then now they put in a 30-second ad,
Yeah,
some
Yeah,
shit's
and
gonna
that
get
that
thrown against the
that
really
wall.
pissed
that
people off.
that is 100% on point there, guys. If they add a 30-second ad behind a instantaneous loading screen, ooh, that will
That game
piss
will not
us
be getting
all off.
played. Is what's going to
Oh, it
be
won't.
happening. At least
Yeah,
on my
so
console. Apparently, there are
I
a lot of
totally
really
agree.
stupid people that keep buying Madden and shit, so they'll sit there
Yeah,
and watch their ads so that they can give 2K more money to play the game
right.
that they bought. So
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So,
On top of the VC money that they have to
exactly.
buy.
On top of the $100 for the gold card that they bought, too.
Yeah.
So another piece of news here about money is Genshin Impact. It's a Chinese game that everyone was worried about because of spyware. Has grossed over $100 million in the first 2 weeks, and that was 7 days ago. Um,
Jesus Christ.
it has some Amazon reviews going. Do you guys have any plans on jumping into this game at all, or no?
I have no fucking clue what this is.
Dustin
Why?
asked me about it. It's an MMORPG, which I guess you mostly play by yourself, which is weird.
Oh,
But it like he was saying, I guess it's almost like a Breath of the Wild. It's very much done in the vein of Breath of the Wild, both in graphics and gameplay. So I might jump in. It seems fun, and it's got nothing but amazing reviews from most outlets.
free to
So
play.
yeah, it's free to play.
Oh, shit. Well, I'll download it. Fuck it.
Right, exactly.
So, how is it
So
grossed to 100 mil? I'm assuming there's
I'm sure
cosmetics.
it's
Microtransaction.
from the sound, it's cosmetics and stuff for season passes or whatever the fuck. Because there's like apparently the map on it is huge and only I mean it's still a large portion, but only a portion of it is currently unlocked. So
Hmm.
who knows? Maybe it'll be like the freemium model where to get those other parts of the map, like it'll
Maybe
be
the
like
season pass,
when
like
Hitman
Destiny.
yeah, or when Hitman rebooted, where you could buy the individual levels and not all of them. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Well, hop in and Genshin Impact if you're interested. So that being said, it's time for the news segment alert. Raw Cuts Gaming pulled apart Near Automata. Woodsy's sitting up.
Oh
He's in the
boy.
Alexa,
hot
play
seat
some
right
smooth
now.
jazz.
Nice. Get your
Yeah.
pants off.
All right. Well, that'll be coming on here soon. So, Woodsy, it's gonna be kind of a little interview between you and me here. I got some questions lined up for you. Your thoughts and opinions on the game. So, that all being said, what was kind of your first impressions, not of the game, but what were your thoughts when Nier won that poll? Did you have any reservations or expectations coming into the game? What did you think about the game coming in?
I forget who was against it in that poll. I believe one of those games was The Witcher 3.
Yep.
And I wanted to play Nier. Specifically because I mean, you gave it a lot of credit for me just with your personal feelings on it and ravings about it over the years. So I definitely wanted to play it, but I think in my heart of hearts, I wanted to play Witcher 3 more. So I was slightly disappointed that Witcher 3 didn't win, if I am correct about that poll. But I actually have an idea for our fifth poll, for my fifth pile of shame poll. It'll be a second place poll. So I'm going to go back to all the previous polls and look who got second. So whatever we get to the fifth pile of shame poll, we'll be pulling all those second places. So Witcher 3 will be back up on that ballot. And yeah, so that was my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, so that being said, what were some early impressions of the game? So I remember you had your first playthrough. You loved it.
I gotta get right with 2B.
Yeah. I'll kind of vamp here while if you can just listen in here a second. So, and from what I remember is that very first section of the game, the playing style or whatever of the game is quite different than the rest of the game. Now, that being said, we'll get into it in a little bit. There's a lot of different play styles throughout the game, but what were kind of your first impressions on the game?
First impressions of the game were pretty simple. Like I was floored by that first intro level. Not only with the varying up of the gameplay types, you're doing like a top-down shooter to a side-scrolling shooter, side-scrolling action game to a 3D action game, and other subgenres of those larger genres mixed in. It was crazy. It was hectic. It was rad and dope and every superlative I could think of. And from a narrative perspective, it was just bonkers. It was like, it reminded me of what would be like the ending level in a Metal Gear Solid Kojima game. But it was just the first level, if you will. So.
Yeah, so I'll give you kind of a brief synopsis. I took this from a guy named Michael Saba on YouTube. I kind of watched his recap video called How Nier Automata Tells the Ultimate Human Fable. But his synopsis of the game, just high level for you who didn't watch his playthrough, haven't played the game, is it's set in the far-flung future of 11945 AD.
Alexa,
and it takes place during a machine war. Alien machines wiped out humanity of Earth, and the humans went to the moon, and they created this group called Yorha. They're androids to battle the alien machines. So you play as these android machines killing off these more mechanical machines throughout the game. So that's kind of the base level of what the game is. So that all being said, now you had your first playthrough, you had a great time. Your second playthrough, we had a hang up. What was getting you hung up on there?
I guess that was also part of one of my first impressions too, was that graphically the environments are very plain Jane. And I remember during the live stream that you had stated that you thought that there was a justification for that narratively. There wasn't. And I don't know. I think the level design is good from one gameplay standpoint, insofar as like you really get to know do the type of game it is, and you have to replay it several times and go back and forth between these same sections a number of times. You really get to know those sections of the world fairly intimately, which is cool. But they're considering how often you are running by the same bullshit, it gets really old really quickly because nothing's that pretty to look at environmentally. But I also kind of had stuck and the first playthrough was tough. It took a while to get going and get its claws in me, specifically because the gameplay I was actually really in love with at the time. But I couldn't really totally figure out like how to work everything from the upgrade, how to upgrade myself to where the fuck I was supposed to go to basically finish various missions, so on and so forth. And so a lot of that was kind of frustrating me in my first go. However, ... I liked it more later.
So, I alluded to earlier in the show, this is spoilers are all on the table right now. So, if you want to play the game, tune out now. But so the reason I said that I think the narrative piece of having these bleak worlds is this game takes place in what they describe as like the 14th machine war, well after humanity died. I think
It's
they
like in the
want
year 11,000 something.
945, which was allegedly alluded to as a reference to World War II. Is when the United
Oh,
States
interesting.
beat World War Germany. Got that from that Michael video also. Credit him. So I felt like they had these bleak worlds is because this is a repeat, a rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And that's why they had you running through this loop that they put you through. And we'll get into here at the end of what happens at the end of each cycle. But I think they really wanted to make you feel this cycle that these androids and machines are going through, and that's why they emptied out the world, and that's why they made it as bleak as they did. Um, is it annoying to run through the same piece a million times? Yes. I think they had you do it for a reason, though, and I think that reason was to kind of show you this cycle that they're in, and that humans are in general. So that's kind of why
So
I thought that.
I actually think they did it also for narrative reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
But slightly different than the ones you gave. Insofar as, so when the first time you play through the game, you play through as this android character named Tubi, and you are accompanied. You're basically the equivalent of a ninja, right?
Yep.
And then you have your sidekick, who is technically like your technical recon support or whatever. And usually those two aren't paired up in a combat zone, but they were this time for reasons. And first playthrough to be story was really good. As I alluded to last week, the game is exceptionally deep in its content material. It asks every existential question under the sun. And you're basically starting off where you're just cutting down all these machines, and all of a sudden then you're being told by the game, by several characters and from various other exposition, that these machines are just mindless machines. They don't have the capacity for thought, reason, emotion, anything like that. They're just mindless fucking machines, and they are the thing that is preventing the humans from getting off the moon and getting back to the Earth and repopulating the Earth and making the Earth better again. Because the machines were brought to Earth by an alien species. As it turns out, all that was bullshit. The humans are dead long, long, long ago. And if you played the initial Nier, you would have known that already. I believe they covered that in the first Nier. Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
I my theory about it was basically mostly correct. The one thing I didn't see coming was this is one of the things. This is how much I ended up liking the game when CJ first proposed that you got to beat this game 5 fucking times.
What were your thoughts when I said that?
Not gonna happen.
Well, when you say you gotta beat a game 5 times, you're thinking like, okay, God of War. Play through God of War to play the game 5 times, or Spider-Man 5 times, and that's not
fair though. After that second playthrough, when you play as 2B's company 9S, I was thinking this is gonna be fucking hell.
So you play through the game as 2B, right?
Right.
And you roll credits on the game. And then you play through as 9S in your second playthrough, right?
Yep. And
you do rehash kind of a lot from the first playthrough. Not all of it, but you do go through quite a bit. It gives you a different perspective on things, which I like.
So, and that's where I'm circling the wagons.
Yep, go ahead.
The narrative
wagons. Yep.
So one of the things about their first playthrough as 2B is they kind of cast her in the narrative and then her lines that she has throughout her story arc, her specific story arc, is that she is kind of a hard-edged,
ninja
go about her
warrior.
business, badass. Doesn't really, she's very mission and objective driven. She doesn't, if something is not really within the framework of that mindset, she dismisses it out, basically outright. And 9S or nines is constantly, though in the beginning he enforces it as they go throughout the game. You are given the sense that there's more to this story than meets the eye, that there's more to all these other machines that I'm just cutting down mindlessly than meets the eye. And it turns out through whatever AI synapses process that some machines in this world have actually started to evolve real emotion, real sense of community, families. One thing I didn't
saw that, yeah,
and one thing I didn't catch necessarily on my first playthrough was when there's the scene at the end of like the first desert time you're getting to the desert, where these machines birth what is another android, looks like a Ken doll, no dick, right? As you are getting down in there, there's a short little cutscene that transpires, and the machines are actually trying to fuck each other in that cutscene, and I didn't notice that until my second playthrough. It was weird as fuck. I thought they were attacking each other, but no, like one machine's definitely thrusting, and it was interesting, and that makes a lot more sense when the machines, these robots that are supposed to be mindless, some of them try to mimic things about humanity. Both of our worst characteristics, our best characteristics, and our worst characteristics. Religion, the tribalism, murder, so on and so forth. Vanity. It's gnarly how it all kind of comes together. And it's a really hard game to describe in its entirety and do it justice without talking about it for hours and hours and hours. We don't have that kind of time, but it really truly is amazing. And then once you play as 2B through his very similar second playthrough, you start seeing things from his perspective, and the characters that you interacted that first time with 2B, now that you're interacting with them as 9S and 2B, and you were doing the same as before, but it's hard to say, but context of those conversations becomes flipped in certain areas.
Yep.
And I think it's because you have the knowledge at that point now these machines than meet the eye, robots in disguise. But it was really, really cool. It was a very emotion heavy game, a very thoughtful game. And then your final three playthroughs are basically get you through the real endings of the game. So 9S and 2B's ending is basically the same thing. And then you, except for the very end of 2B's, and then you come on to play your third playthrough as A2, who is this mysterious character that shows up just twice and very briefly in the first two playthroughs. But you kind of have the sense that, yeah, she's another android. She's clearly a fierce, sexy woman in her own right. So, and there was always this huge like cliffhanger that she left it on during your first interaction with her, where she was like, "Yorha's lying to you. Your mission commander's full of shit." Blah 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 blah. And then they never referenced that at any point ever again, really. And then you finally get to play as her, and during the course of her playthrough, 2B ends up dying by her hand, but it wasn't her fault. It was more of I forget the Japanese samurai custom of suicide. It was more along those lines, between the interaction between 2B and A2, where 2B basically became infected by this computer virus that was going to infect a broader network of androids and kill basically everything and everybody. And so she killed herself via A2's sword. And 2B saw this, or 9 saw this rather, and didn't take so kindly to A2, and they end up squaring off in the end. But as you go through as A2, you learn whole other aspects about this story. She's even more, oh, fuck this bullshit. And very like almost story aware. It's like, this is my third playthrough. Fuck all these machines. They take so long to beat. Like, why can't this all just be quicker? And it's kind of funny because it's self-aware at this juncture. But her playthrough is vastly different. And in the end of her playthrough, you actually face off against 9's in what I can only describe as this giant Android built weird 3D printed tower in the sky. It was really weird. And you learn that the unfortunate truth is that 2B there is no such thing as a B model. So version 2 model type B. There was no model B. She was model H, so she was really 2E. Oh, yes, correct, 2E, which was the model that was the assassin model.
Executioner.
Yeah. So, and
what was she executing?
She was executing 9's the entire time, and this is the only time things really went awry. And it got past a certain point. It didn't in previous iterations of the game. Or further, they're basically living Groundhog's Day, but in real time. Like, 9's would eventually get to this point where his character was about to break before he pushed through and fucked everything up. And it was 2B's job, or 2B's job every single time to cut his ass down or make sure he didn't make it for probably a period of many hundreds of years. And throughout all of this, like, his memory effectively gets wiped because of this every single time.
Yeah, so there's various points in the game that when 9S would die, right? And it would be 2B right next to him. And there's one scene when they tap these little cubes together to explode each other to kill the big bad, and you're like, oh, that's horrible. Yep. And then another scene when she's stabs him or whatever. And you see these scenes earlier in the game, but they, as like Woods mentioned earlier, they add context throughout the game plays and iterations of the games. And in this final scene when she's explaining, hey, she's actually 2E executing you, and they cut back all this times that 9S dies, and they show 2B, which is also 2E, laying over the body crying because she has to go through and kill him, and she doesn't want to, but that's what she's programmed to do.
Right.
Rinse and repeat. And you're like, and holy shit.
And their memories are getting wiped every time, but it turns out they weren't getting wiped completely or correctly.
Right.
So
like a Westworld type thing.
In a certain sense. Yeah, that's a very good description. We're like, yeah, basically that shit's happening. And then that's actually really, really good comparison to how this game is in a certain sense. It completely lacks the humanity. Humanity is dead. They've been long gone. So have the aliens. So the only organic life form on Earth right now is really animals, not humans. There's no humans. It's just other animals. We gone. And it was just really cool, you know, for them to go through all of this of the game and really ask the question, what is it? Effectively, the whole game comes down to asking really two questions. There's a lot of other existential questions that are asked between, but there's two that really stand out to me, which is, what does it mean to really be human? / what is the human condition? And is our own destruction caused by our own hand inevitable? Like, is it unavoidable? And it doesn't answer these questions, by the way. This is one of the beautiful things about these stories. It doesn't really answer any of these questions. It leaves everything open to interpretation. And that to me is really beautiful from a story making perspective for a game like this that asks so many of those existential questions, because you don't want to have those questions answered by another person. Those are questions that you answer for yourself through conversation and other engagement with other people, which in and of itself was a play on what was going on with robots and communicating with other robots throughout the story, realizing that these existential questions exist because they are aware of and read philosophers such as Nietzsche, and then asking themselves and their fellow robots, what are the answers to these philosophical questions, and then becoming emotional beings, becoming sexual beings, becoming machines of thought. Yep. And it's a beautiful game, and it's beautiful how it's done, because they part of some of those existential questions that we ask, obviously and ultimately, and this is one of the things that this game ponders, is some of these existential questions for some of the robots discussing them and competing them back and forth against each other will lead to conflict and confrontation, and both in the philosophy of varying ideas, but also literal in a physical sense. So is our destruction inevitable by our own hand? And that is something that this game does not shy away from asking, and it does it in a very in very subtle ways and very interesting ways. Like you learn about these machines and some of their motivations, some which turn out to be not good, and others that are just totally fine and genuine. For example, there's this one area that you're asked by this one machine, oh, hey, can you go and clear out these so what other machines? They were blah, 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 blah. You're like, making it seems like you got to go and do this guy a favor because this is really fucking with him, or it's not good for him and his buddies. And then when you get back from your little side quest and you tell him, oh, yeah, I did it. And he's like, oh, thank God. Fuck those fucking machines. Like, they're a bunch of pieces of fucking shit. The one they're always looking at me funny. And it's like he wanted them murdered for no reason. And it's like, this is a machine, but he hated these other machines for really just stupid, no arbitrary reasons. And you learn about how some of these machines are really like going off the deep end. And damn, it's so interesting. And then
a lot of the side quests, I don't know if you caught this or not, but a lot of the side quests are all tied to philosophers and philosophies.
Yes.
Some of the main machines you kill are all philosopher names. Even some of the side characters you kill, Pascal or whatnot, are involved with are all philosophers. And there's a very in-depth videos you can go down the rabbit hole on YouTube. That Michael Saba video I mentioned, and how Nier Automata tells the ultimate human fable, really gets in depth. So if you really want to get in the weeds and be like, have your mind blown, of like that very first side quest you did, Woodsy, was a philosophy fable, a paradox. It's called the ship thesis paradox, and it's just like, oh my god. So the cold opener on the game, I want to read this, and the very start of the game, your three ships flying in, and the first thing you hear is a woman's voice, and she says, everything that lives is designed to end, designated to end. We are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death. Is this a curse or some type of punishment? I often think about the God that blessed us with this cryptic puzzle and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him. And that's the very first thing you hear in booting up this game. And it's like, holy shit. This game can be an inch deep, or it can be a mile deep if you really want to get down in the weeds of it, man. It's
no, and it can be, and it absolutely blows away. And Nines, I forget what the derivation of that was that people speculate on. That was really interesting, learning about some of that.
To be or not to be.
Right.
You know?
To be and not to be was a literal Shakespeare reference. And it's also very interesting. Like, and so much depth there. And yeah, you have like the Henry VIII, and there's touches of Henry VIII in the storyline. And what's the one where they kill the emperor?
Caesar.
Caesar. Yeah, thank you. It's really really good. It's just really good. So well done. They also obviously touch on concepts such as religion, which is obviously part of philosophy, but religion insofar as a institution organization, a number of times, and in fashion and war, and I mean it literally covers the gambit. The one thing I will say about it, and it was this, like, and that's why I continued on, because I could see that these layers of this game were narratively and getting pulled back, not only insofar as the actual game story, what it was trying to tell you as a story, but seeing how deep it was from a, what is this actually asking me? What is it doing? And at one point I remember having a side text with you where I felt the game itself was playing with my emotions, and that this was a purposeful action of the design of the game to force me to think about X, Y, and Z. And these are all things I've thought about before. One of my 2 degrees, or bachelor degrees, I should say, or one was in philosophy, so I was very very familiar with a lot of these concepts and philosophical stories that some of these side quests or wherever else were from. And I thought it was just very fantastic how well it was done from a narrative thing, which was really good, because even though that gameplay is awesome and the whole hacking game with nines is great, it gets fucking repetitive as fuck.
Yeah.
For basically halfway through my playthrough as nines, I turned it on easy mode and flipped on all the auto everything switches, because I was just, there's too many characters in that game, and you realize after the fact, oh, I guess I have to play through this game a few times, and because you'll find some guy that you could spar with, dude's like level 60, and I would fight that guy. I've tried fighting him twice on my own, and I'm like 30 minutes into this fucking fight, and he's got half of his fucking life left. And I'm like, this is just a bullet sponge. This is bullshit. And so that was my breaking point. I turned on all the easy, get through this game, auto bullshit, which was good, because at that juncture, the gameplay is good. If I would have, I guess, known, I should have reserved those guys till after I was a higher level, after all these other playthroughs, that would have been better. But though I'm not a trophy hunter, I am a completionist from the standpoint as I will do every fucking side quest I can do.
I'm that way too.
Any chance you go back and get the platinum or no?
I guess I'm like 65% of the way there. I don't know what the rest of it necessarily consists of. I know. Oh no, we did talk about this a little. Like maxing out every single weapon, getting every single weapon, and then maxing every weapon out and all your bots. That's a bitch. That's going to be a bitch. So, it's a grind. Plus, it's random number generation bullshit that you're relying on, and
upgrade material to upgrade. Yeah. So I'll touch on that. I know we're running a little late here, but I'll touch on the trophies a little bit here. So it's a 3 out of 10 difficulty on PSN profiles, but they estimate about 60 hours to complete. Now, I never found this, but allegedly there's an in-game store where you can essentially buy trophies.
Yeah, I saw that.
So you can kind of hack your way there if you want to. But a couple of trophies I want to touch on pretty quickly here. I'll go quick. There's 2 trophies I want to talk about. One called Not That I Mind, and that means you had to play 1 hour with 9S in a certain state. That certain state is pantsless. So pants off, dance off. So if you push L3 and R3 at the same time for about 3 seconds, 9S will explode. He doesn't die, but he explodes. And he's pantsless. You have little health, so you have to go either hide or re-heal yourself.
Heal yourself,
You
right?
have to play for an hour with him pantsless. Now that has a 12% achievement rate on PSN. The other trophy I want to talk about is called "What Are You Doing?" And the description is discover 2B's secret 10 times. So to get that trophy is you have to look up her skirt. So she is a hot android robot, and you have to angle the camera down like below her pants, and you can see under her pants or whatever. And when you do that, she brushes away at the camera and pushes you away and gives you a look like, what the F are you doing? You got to do that 10 times. Now that has a 20% achievement rate on
Of course.
PSN. I was a little surprised it wasn't higher, to be honest with
That
you.
was
But,
predominantly accidental.
Right. 10 times.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so those are kind of some of the funny trophies they had in there.
It's a
yes.
good game. It really is. If I have to rate it, I can't rate it. It's hard. It's a game that's hard for me to rate on a 1 to 10 scale, because it's way more than the sum of its parts, and all of its parts are good. So just from like pure gameplay, and graphics, that sort of shit, 8. From the narrative to what it is asking you to, just how really good it is as a story. I feel like it's just one of the best stories, sci-fi stories I've ever heard, to be quite honest. It's one of the best sci-fi stories I've ever been part of experiencing. And from that standpoint, it turns it up to 11 for sure. So it's an amazing game. So, I mean, as great and as much praise and respect as it got for its actual gameplay, which it is due, though I do find at times it does get quite repetitive and or bullet spongy. The gameplay is very solid. I couldn't fucking even imagine trying to beat that shit on like the hardest difficulty, let alone hard mode. It was fucking hard at times. So
yeah, well, and there's no trophies tied to difficulty. So now,
true.
That all being said, it had one very interesting mechanic. We'll put a bow on this long conversation here. But once you beat the game, it gives you the option. Beat the game. It gives you the option to delete your save file.
Yes.
By choosing to delete your save file, it deletes your save file. It deletes all save files you have tied to the said game, and you are starting back from ground zero.
I can't believe we didn't talk about this, because one of the narrative, to get to the best narrative ending of the game uses the credits themselves as part of the narrative and part of gameplay at the same time. It turns it into like an asteroid Space Invaders-y shooter, and at the same juncture, like, what? Go on. Sorry, CJ.
So you beat the game, and the credits roll, and you go back. One of the modes you play in the hacking game, it's kind of asteroid-y, more of a 2.5D almost, more 2D. But the asteroid in the end of the game is definitely 2D, and you get the credits of the names of the developers and the staff. So that was an interesting way to integrate that, and because normally you just hit the credits and you hit skip and you move on, but you can actually shoot the letters of the people's names, and then you get bullets coming at you and stuff.
And it is impossible. It is purposely impossible.
It is.
Because it asks you throughout when you die, every time you die, it asks you a question, like basically asking you, do you want to quit? Why are you playing this game? Is it even worth it? Blah, 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 so on and so forth. It's trying to get you to quit.
So by deleting your save, but then you also see it's you versus just some text, and it gets progressively harder and harder until it's impossible, right? But as you're scrolling along, you see these random names come through, and they help you, right? They help you destroy along your way.
There's words of encouragement that are
words of encouragement, and it's PSN users' names. Yeah. So if you choose to delete your save file, it immortalizes you in that list of people that help you along this path. Now, the path is going to eventually lead to your death, just like I said in that little opening credits scene, but you get immortalized in this list of people. If you don't choose to delete your save file, your name doesn't get immortalized, but you also keep your save file. Now, I chose to keep my save file because I was going for the platinum. Did you delete?
There's an easy cheater way around it. That'll eventually do.
Offload your save file.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you have your save file backed up on PlayStation Network, you can just restore it.
Yeah, so, but I mean, it's such a cool mechanic that it actually goes through and actually deletes your save file or any other saves you have. So
one of the things about this game, and this is why this part of this game is so important, and it's really kind of beautiful, is that this game also touches on theories of interdimensionality. So 9S and 2B are basically going through a cycle of terribleness that is forever unchanging. But you have at this option, at this juncture, to choose to end that existence. So it's not, it no longer becomes sad. It no longer ever becomes potentially happy. It is you almost mercy killing either possibility from ever occurring again. And then using that decision, you're ending your life, sacrificing your life to help anybody else who is now lost on this journey. And I think that part was phenomenally beautiful. So you can choose to end this cycle of sadness and madness, but it comes at great sacrifice to you.
So I will leave it at that. Beautiful outro there from you, Woodsy. I think that really ties it up in a nice bow. I thought that was a good pulled apart segment. We really got in depth there, but there's a lot to this game, and I'm really glad you stuck through it to see the end.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
That being said, this concludes our 14th episode of the Raw Cuts Gaming Podcast. Thanks you to the listener for putting up with our long pulled apart segment and our longest episode yet at a whopping 1 hour and 23 minutes. But we appreciate you for putting up with our juicy takes and all things in the video game sphere. We hope you join us each and every week for more Raw Cuts Gaming. We'd like you to take a part in the conversation and tell them how much you hate us.
New
we
poll
definitely reach out
tomorrow. New poll out
tomorrow. So we definitely, or today when you're listening to this,
yep.
We definitely encourage you to reach out to us on the Twitters at Raw Cuts Gaming. If you'd like to see the podcast on YouTube, the Raw Cuts Gaming channel. If you like Twitter or the YouTube, hit us up on the email, rawcutsgaming@gmail.com. Big D, if people want to get a hold of you, where's the best place to get a hold of you?
At NakedGamer84 on the Twitters, and at noob with the zeros _NakedGamer on Twitchies.
Woodsy, if people want to hear your hot takes, your Twitter beef makes, or anything else waxing poetic about Nier Automata, where can people find you?
Upper Decker Makes.
Upper Decker Maker.
That is an inside joke.
Don't ever turn that into your background photo.
Oh my god.
Oh, CJ, send me that picture.
My uncle Rob legitimately thought that was you.
I know.
A picture of a guy doing Upper Decker.
Because it looks exactly
like
doing
an Upper Decker in a hotel room. CJ, please email me that photo.
On it.
Well, you can find me at Woods_or_Wads with the Z at Twitter. So yeah, new pile o' shame poll coming out tomorrow.
And if you want to get a hold of me, your resident trophy hunting host, you can find me on the Twitters at CJ Rindle. We thank you guys. Take care. Bye, guys.